Hey guys, I'm back with one of my favorite recipes. It is for salmon patties. And for this, I used canned salmon. You can see me pulling it off my pantry shelf there. Now, all you need for this recipe is some shallot. That's a shallot there. And I'm going to show you here how to cut the shallot. It's a little bit painful watching me peel the shallot. This shallot had such tight skin on it. It drove me absolutely crazy. There I am trying to get under it. Finally, my knife did the trick. I wanted to leave this in to show you guys that yes, sometimes it's really hard to peel things, and don't give up. You just need a little bit of patience. Although maybe I should have edited this painful part out. Looks like I got that shallot peeled. I got it diced. I think I accidentally stopped recording or something, but here's my bell pepper. This is how I like to do them. Cut them once from the bottom to the top. I'm only using half the bell pepper here. Just rip out that top bit, rip out the big white veins as much as you can, bang out those seeds, and then we're going to do a rough dice here. So I'm going to take out the rest of that white stuff because it tends to be a little bit bitter when you're eating it. So I'm cleaning it out as much as possible. You can see I'm using my knife to do that there. Want to make sure to get all of it. It's worth it to take the time. And then I kind of flatten it there on my cutting board and run my knife through it. You can see how I'm keeping the tip of my knife on the cutting board, go a long way, and then I'm going to turn around and dice it across. This is a small to medium dice. Definitely not perfect, but perfect for our circumstances here. And I'm going to put that in a bowl with my chopped shallot and do the other quarter there. You can also turn the pepper around and smash it on the cutting board, but I find that my knife goes through this part of the pepper better, not the skin side. So I put the skin side down when I'm cutting my bell peppers. Now here we go with the salmon. I get this canned sockeye salmon from Trader Joe's. I think it has a totally delicious taste. For 2 servings of these salmon cakes that have 30 grams of protein each, I'm going to use 2 cans of salmon. And you want to be sure to drain it, which you'll see in a second. But you could also use leftover cooked salmon as well. I make this either or. I either use this canned salmon if I don't have any leftover cooked salmon, or it's a really great way to use leftover cooked salmon. So once you have that salmon drained, you're going to go ahead and want to sweat that shallot and that bell pepper that I cut earlier. Now you can see I have it. Heat it at my pan, just put a little bit of olive oil in there. You don't want too high of a heat. You want like a medium heat because you're just sweating these vegetables. You're not looking for any color on them. You're just looking to soften them up. So I put them in a pan there on a medium heat, a little bit of oil, stir them around. I will add a tiny bit of salt just to help break them down and for flavor as well. And then let them cook until they're getting soft. You can see I'm testing it there to see how soft it is. Not quite yet, but we're getting there. Now that my veggies are cooked, I'm going to put them aside in their bowl and get to making the rest of the salmon cakes. You don't have to do this step of pre-cooking them, but it is going to get rid of some of the moisture in the shallot and bell pepper, making the final texture of your salmon patties better. So I think this is absolutely worth the step. It just takes a few extra minutes, maybe 5 extra minutes to do this, and I think it is absolutely worth it. So I have those drained cans of salmon and I'm going to put them in a bowl here. I think those are 5 or 6 ounce cans. I'm not totally sure if you're weighing out leftover salmon and using that instead. I'm going to go ahead and mash it with the back of my fork and then add a few ingredients here. It's fine to leave the skin in there with this stuff. It totally works. There is my sweated down shallot and bell pepper going right in there. If you don't have bell pepper, if you don't have shallot, that's fine. Use onion and celery. That works too. This is just for some extra flavor. And then I'm going to use an egg to bind. That's just 1 egg for 2 cans of salmon. Mix that around in there. Make sure it coats the salmon and the other ingredients well. And then I'm going to add, I think that was salt, probably some pepper. The canned salmon can be a little bit salty, so go easy on the salt until you taste it at the end, just to be sure. And then that's some panko breadcrumbs that I'm using. You can see my really accurate measurement there. I don't know, maybe that was a couple tablespoons. And that is to soak up extra moisture. If you want to make them gluten-free, totally easy. You can use a gluten-free flour. I often use rice flour with these. It just kind of depends on what I have on hand. I had some panko left over from making some chicken katsu, so I used that here. It's just to soak up extra moisture. And green stuff, that's always a good idea. This is parsley here. You can use cilantro if you want. Basil works as well. Again, part of what I love about this pantry recipe is that you're just kind of using up whatever you have on hand, and that is such a small amount of parsley. You can leave it out too, or you can even add a dried herb from your pantry, but it won't have as much flavor as the fresh herb will. Go ahead and add that to the bowl, and I like to put in a tiny bit of cumin, maybe about, I don't know, 1/8 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon, not a whole lot. Cumin's pretty strong, but I think it adds a really nice flavor to these. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of chili pepper to this too. Either a chili pepper blend or just a straight ground chili. Add what you think will taste delicious. I've done these with a curry powder too. That is another way to make them really, really good. Just add a little bit of curry powder in there. And now you want to form your patties. And the thing you're looking for here is that they're not too wet and they're not too dry. They're going to stick together, but they're not going to have liquid oozing out of them. If there's too much liquid oozing out of them, you want to add a little bit more breadcrumbs or your rice flour. If they're not sticking together, you're going to want more egg. But for this amount of salmon, 1 egg tends to be good. If you start adding more eggs with this amount of salmon, you're going to end up with a gloopy mess. But sometimes if your egg is a little bit bigger and you just use the 2 cans of salmon, sometimes you'll need a little bit more breadcrumb to soak up that extra moisture. But you can see I'm showing you here, they stick together with a really gentle squeeze, but there's no extra liquid coming out in my hands. They may seem like they're falling apart a little bit, but you don't want them to be super compacted together. You want them to be just holding together. That's the best texture, in my opinion. Once I have my patties done, this is a really key teaching point here, you guys. Listen up. So you absolutely need to preheat your pan. This is a stainless steel pan that I'm using before you add your oil and before you add your patties. I'll say that again. Preheat your pan before adding your oil. I didn't do that here in this first round, and I left it in to show you what happens if you don't preheat your pan enough. It sticks. Watch me get really frustrated here. Well, you won't. That first one turned out okay, and then they started sticking, and then they started falling apart, and I was getting so frustrated because I was filming, but I thought, hey, what an amazing teaching moment. So look, this is what I ended up with. Are they patties? No. Are they delicious? Absolutely yes. Are they edible? 100%. Yum. I ate that pile. That was so good. It tastes so good. But if you want cohesive salmon patties, make sure your pan is heated up. And you can see how that oil is a bit more loosely moving in the pan there. That is a preheated stainless steel pan. Then add your oil. Then add your salmon patties, and you're going to see how much more of a difference this makes. You'll notice that I did clean my pan too. You want to make sure your pan is 100% clean before heating it up and adding your oil. And watch this. This works like magic. You want to cook them until they are let go by the pan. You can see I flipped that first one there, no problem. And I'm going to flip these other ones here. That fish spatula I'm using is really good for getting underneath. It has a little bit of a sharp edge on it, so it's really good for getting underneath those patties. And look, they're not sticking, they're not falling apart. Amazing. And this is all because I preheated my pan properly. I don't use nonstick pans due to chemical concerns, so this is a way to make your stainless steel or cast iron pan non-stick is by heating it before you add your oil. And these turned out perfectly. I was so happy with these. These were pretty for the photo. The other ones were my lunch. These ones I saved for my daughter for when she got home. These are really good for leftovers too. They reheat really well, like in a toaster oven. Just 350 for 10 minutes are amazing. Look at that. Aren't they perfectly brown and beautiful and appetizing looking? Serve them with some lettuce or some sauce. I tend to make an herb salsa with these. Really tasty. There you go. Oh, there's me eating my mess, my salmon patties. The salmon patties recipe. I hope you guys try it. It's really delicious.